Two of Enlil's attacks against the Enki clan and humanity were described in the stories of the Deluge and the Tower of Babel. His final attacks were the nuclear bombing of 5 cities of the Jordan Plain: Admah, Zeboim, Zor, Sodom and Gomorrah. It's difficult to imagine how an entire city, society, or even civilization can simply cease to exist. Yet, history is littered with many apocalyptic-sized anomalies where thousands and perhaps even millions of people have vanished overnight. Across the Middle East and North Africa, there are a number of examples of these kinds of events, from Carthage in Tunisia, Troy in Turkey, and the metropolis of Irem in Rub' al-Khali, to the lost city of Atlantis in or around North Africa, and a collection of cities on the coasts of the Caspian Sea. All of these locations share one thing in common: the sudden loss of life, sometimes seemingly overnight. The theories are many as to why these cities seemingly vanished, be the cause of their destruction as natural or supernatural, from war to Lovecraftian monsters, to even God himself as the cause. In 1908, a massive blast near Siberia's stony Tunguska River flattened some 2,000 square kilometers of uninhabited forestry. Curiously, no crater was discovered, and scientists explain this strange phenomena through a meteor explosion some 5 to 10 kilometers above land. In 2018, an interdisciplinary team of archaeologists and scientists used the Tunguska explosion as a model to explain why a thriving civilization that lived for thousands of years in a plain near Jordan's Dead Sea vanished overnight. These scientists state that evidence of a high heat explosion event north of the Dead Sea was excavated at the Bronze Age city of Tel el-Hammam, which some scholars say is also the lost city of Sodom. The explosion would have wiped out all civilization in the affected area, including Middle Bronze Age cities and towns, instantly taking the lives of an estimated 40,000 to 65,000 people who inhabited Al-Ghor al-Awsat, a 25-kilometer wide circular plain in Jordan, encompassing the cities of Sodom, Admah, Zeboim, Zor, and Gomorrah. Now, understanding the spiritual sources and references for this disaster is important for understanding the rest of this episode. But here is a warning. Some of the content is a little PG-13 rated, even in its censored form, so I will upload the uncensored version on Patreon at a later date. If you are a part of the Abrahamic faith and are religiously inclined, the chances are that you believe that this meteor strike was one of the same causes or means that destroyed these cities. Nations deemed as too decadent to survive, and which many archaeologists and historians locate as once existing in Jordan. In the Bible and Torah, God reveals to Abraham that Sodom and Gomorrah are to be destroyed for their grave sins. The prophet Abraham pleads for the lives of any righteous people living there, especially his nephew Lot. God agrees to spare the cities if 10 righteous people can be found. So he sends 2 male angels to Lot in Sodom, where they are met by a mob of men, who some biblical scholars say wish to have them forcibly if necessary. Consequently, finding only Lot and his family as righteous among the inhabitants, the angels warn him and his family to quickly evacuate the area and to not look back. The Islamic retelling of the story is virtually the same, bar some key differences. The Quran contains 12 references to the people of Lut and describes them as a society of ignorant, decadent, and lawless people who openly and unshamingly indulge in murder, thievery, and aggressive and transgressive behaviors without bounds and limits. Eventually, Allah turned their cities upside down and rained down on them brimstones hard as baked clay, spread layer on layer. Up until recently, the most scientific explanation used to explain their destruction was via an earthquake thought to have occurred around 1900 BCE in the Dead Sea area of the East African Rift system, a rift extending from the Jordan River to the Zambezi River system in eastern Africa. Archaeologists believe that when the catastrophic destruction occurred, the petroleum and gases existing in the area probably contributed to the imagery of brimstone and fire that accompanied the geological upheaval that destroyed the cities. However, according to physics.org, an earthquake as the cause of their destruction is growing far more unlikely, as mounting evidence points to the meteor blast. Sodom, otherwise known as Tel el-Hammam, was a thriving city-state occupying Al-Ghor al-Awsat for over 2,500 years. The city's wall held multiple gates, towers, and likely other defensive features, but none of its state-of-the-art security could protect it from a strike from above. Prior to the theory that a meteor strike caused the destruction of these cities, an alternative theory suggests that God allowed for the obliteration of the city not merely through a natural disaster, be it meteor or earthquake, but he allowed it via the hands and technologies of other men. The Quranic and Ahadith description of the fate of Sodom, with its rain of hot stones engulfing the city, has been interpreted by a couple of Islamic scholars as an ancient description of a silicon dioxide, a byproduct of a nuclear blast. This suggests that maybe what God decreed for the destruction of the city was not supernatural or natural, but technological, as some kind of advanced weaponry seemed to be at play. This nuclear hypothesis was birthed during the heart of the Cold War, after the New York Times wrote in 1960 about the Russian mathematician and ethnologist Matist M. Agrest, who argued that Sodom and Gomorrah had been destroyed by atomic weaponry. Although on the surface this suggests that ancient man may have been far more technologically advanced than what is written in our history books, Agrest takes the idea one entirely further by stating that it was not humans who developed this technology, but actual aliens. It was after the Western media first latched on to the theories of Agrest that the idea of advanced ancient technology being used in the past began to gain traction throughout the 1960s and 70s. This is primarily due to the books Swiss hotelier Erich von Däniken wrote concerning ancient extraterrestrials on Earth and the interstellar battles that were involved in that took place in the Levant and ancient Iraq. Now, whether or not you believe in alien involvement in our past, or that ancient humans were simply more intelligent than we give them credit for, one thing for sure is that these theories that involve advanced ancient technology are seemingly far removed from the Quranic message of the dangers of excess. But the question is it really that far removed? The line between technology and decadence may be a blurred one in this narrative. In Chet Dembek's book, Extreme Messengers of the Gods, he states that these ancient cities were destroyed by aliens because they were involved in a eugenics project related to the genetic bonding and interbreeding of humans and aliens. Although this is clearly conjecture, with his references severely lacking, Dembek is bold enough to say that S was at the core of the destruction of these cities, akin to what has been written in Islamic and Christian scripture. However, while religious sources tend to focus on Islam as one of the principal causes for the destruction of these cities, Baalbek states that the real sin concerned the mating of aliens and humans, a key component found in the Christian Anunnaki theory, where human women and angels took each other as partners, giving birth to giant abominations. However, instead of these beings being angels or demons, these were actual aliens. Within Islamic eschatology, the idea that angels could turn against God is a completely rejected assumption, as they are viewed as pure. But speaking from a strictly Judeo-Christian perspective, Baalbek goes on to say that the biblical war in heaven between angels of light and angels of darkness was really a war between two groups of aliens, with some of the losers retreating to the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah as their new homes. He states that it is here where various forms of genetic experimentation of took place, which included sex between angels and women, men with men, and other forms of bondings on a DNA level that would not only cause dangerous gene mutations in both their offspring and in those who took part in these acts, but also run the risk of YouTube flagging this video for inappropriate content. The point is, according to Baalbek, this kind of activity that was taking place in Sodom and Gomorrah had the potential to seriously alter human DNA for future generations. Hence, why the cities were destroyed via a nuclear blast. According to these theorists, the narrative originating out of the cuneiform slabs found in Iraq, Bahrain, and Iran explains that the Anunnaki came to Earth from the planet Nibiru, seeking gold to repair their ozone layer. Using genetic engineering, they created modern humanity to do their mining work and installed themselves as our deities. According to Daniken, the Anunnaki deity, Enki, had a fatherly relationship with the first two humans. Then Enlil, Enki's brother, took over as commander of Earth, instating a sole god theocracy and a war against the clan of Enki and humanity for spoiling the Anunnaki bloodlines through interbreeding. Two of Enlil's attacks against the Enki clan and humanity were described in the stories of the Deluge and the Tower of Babel. His final attacks were the nuclear bombing of 5 cities of the Jordan Plain: Adma, Zeboim, Zor, Sodom, and Gomorrah. Thank you for watching, and for the mysterious Middle East for allowing me to guest on this channel. Please check out my own personal channel, Optimistic Arab. There's a link in the description and pinned comment. Like, share, and subscribe, and consider supporting both channels' growth on Patreon. I want to share a secret with you. Whenever I'm down or depressed, I go to the Mysterious Middle East channel on YouTube and read your comments about me. It really lifts up my spirit. The comments are so humbling that they leave me speechless. So thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your effort in writing these comments. And thank you for your kindness. I would love to mention all your names, but I'm afraid that I'll leave someone out because you are so many. So thank you all. I would like to return the favor and do something special for you guys. Let's have a discussion in the comments.